sound right. Thank you all for coming. I come to you from Brooklyn College in New York. The flights weren't too bad, so I made it here. I'm going to be talking about using podcasting as a means of enhancing language instruction. And it's entitled État, fois, Podcasting Pedagogy in the French language classroom. So, état fois is the familiar phrase that opens countless French fairy tales. And it invites our readers into an imaginative world. Storytelling has long woven fiction into dense networks of meanings, right? And it produces narratives that are passed down from one generation to generation. So I'm going to look at how podcasts weave this storytelling in a digital format. And as I'm sure you're all familiar, in the realm of higher education, language instruction, it's really all too easy to let this lower order level thinking dominate the classroom. Memorize the conjugation. What are the appropriate pronouns? And it really underutilizes what I think is our students' most powerful tool, and that is their imagination. So in my elementary, the rationale behind this is in my elementary and my intermediate French language courses, I've extended this tradition of narrative play into a podcasting series. So they're simultaneously the authors as well as performers. They craft the grammatical structures, they craft their stories. And, to create is to bring something into existence, and to podcast it is to render it permanently in a digital format, right? So this podcasting is a digital permanence that students really like. So my rationale, it really moves beyond this memorization and drills, which is a necessary component of language instruction, but we have to move beyond that. It really centers imagination, which is often lacking from the classroom, and it encourages multimodal digital expression. We are in the digital era, after all. We need to help our students with their digital competencies. So what does imagination do? Well, imagination connects emotion and intellect, right, in a language learning. It transforms grammar and vocabulary into meaningful experiences rather than just memorization. In her book, Judson emphasizes that imagination drives understanding. A fellow researcher, Kofi, shows that creative multimodal engagement makes language alive through voice and gesture. That's what brings it to life. So these are my founding research that supports what I've found myself. Some other theoretical foundations. Bruner, narrative is how we construct reality, right? Storytelling organizes grammar and vocabulary into meaning. Vygotsky in 1978 in Play, a child behaves beyond his average age. Role play inherent to a podcast is pedagogical. It activates what Vygotsky terms as the zone of proximal development. And above all, it fosters experimentation. We want to awaken that in our students, this role of experimentation. Krashen acquisition requires meaningful interaction in a low stress environment. When students are recording podcasts, often they meet up digitally online, they're at home, and it is a low anxiety, very high engagement space for, above all, authentic communication, which we strive for in our classrooms. So the storytelling is the theoretical framework, right? Storytelling provides the first foundation for the imagination of our students. Jerome Bruner situates narrative as a fundamental mode of human thought, and it enables learners to construct meaning, right? So within storytelling creates context for comprehensible input, output, and our learners are not only exposed to authentic utterances, but they themselves author their own, okay? So above all, I want to emphasize the role of imagination in learning. This slide really highlights some quotes from some other researchers that really focus on the role of imagination, right? Judson reminds us that imagination connects emotion and intellect. Interesting, that's what we're doing at a university, right? We want to connect their emotions with their intellect. Help students to internalize grammar, right? Instead of externally memorizing, they're internalizing it and creating themselves. Coffee expands this to multimodal creativity. Multimodal meaning digital mode. We enter into a digital mode with the podcast, right? So it allows them, and also gesturing, learning as they role play. It's an incredible experience for students. Storytelling. Wow, if we can contextualize grammar, vocabulary through a story, students really, they very much are warm to that. Bruner reminds us that narrative, above all, it's a way of thinking, right? It's how learners organize and make sense of experience. So when students learn new grammar or vocabulary through stories, beginning very often in French with état, fois, these forms gain context and above all, emotional weight. Makes them more memorable, which is also very important. Well, in the story, there are characters, and our students have to they embody these roles. So role playing. So if storytelling supplies the narrative, role play animates it with lived voices. Okay, Vygotsky underscores the role of play in cognitive and social development, arguing that learners can operate within a zone of proximal development. So we do, even at the university level, want to encourage play because that's how students internalize and really master material and language. It's through play, very constructive play. Above all, I find that podcasting represents a modern extension of storytelling, right? And role play. It adds the dimension of digital permanence, right? Recording. Mabou Hassan identifies podcast as a powerful tool for supporting both receptive listening. They have to listen to their partners and producing productive speaking skills while also motivating learners. Also, Chavjus demonstrates a positive impact on learner confidence. 100%, their confidence is so much stronger because they're not judged by their peer. Number one, they're in an imaginative environment. They've assumed a fictitious identity. So they're comfortable in that space. And you'll find that their confidence, right? So podcasting as digital storytelling really unites creativity, okay, performance and assessment, and it creates this tangible digital learning artifact, which is really something. So it's kind of a pedagogical triad in a way. You have storytelling within which there is role playing plus podcasting. Wow, that equals an imaginative pedagogy. And I'll give you two examples now. So for my 10-10 elementary, for students who have no experience in French, I've created a podcast called La Famille Dupont, and it's for the it's a novice level 5-week project. Basically, I create a fictitious family tree for our class. I have 28 students, create a family tree. Each of them are given a new role in our family. And they adopt these family roles every week, contextualized within the grammatical or vocabulary focus that we're working on. So it's scaffolded. I'm sure you're all familiar with this scaffolding building, right? It requires thought ahead of time, but you'll find that it really simplifies it when you have a strong scaffolding, right? Week one, family, voici, je m'appelle Melissa, je suis la fille de, j'ai les cheveux noirs. Week two is building on their identity, incorporating descriptive adjectives of physical or personality. And this is all aligned and in sync with the curriculum of the class. So they have support from their textbook, from class. Numbers and money, they do pas comme leur sous. So we work on that. Food impartatives and Ali in the future push for the end. Again, this aligns with the last 5 weeks of curriculum in our class. So it's reinforcing, but instead of let's count from 0 to 6. Self-reflective. It's a very important part because it affirms their creativity. It gives the students confidence. And this has been a challenge. And I have incorporated in the article some of the comments of my students once, and it was fun to let our imaginations run wild. I saw that many times from comments from students, how fun it was just to enjoy our imagination. So the reflections at the end, not only do they comment on their peers, but I've created a self-reflective questionnaire that students go through and give me their feedback, right? What did you think? How can we improve? What did you like? What didn't you like? And overwhelmingly, it was very positive. Oh, I don't think. Oh, William, I'm sorry, I don't think it's working. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Still an issue with them.
No worries, thank you so much. So yeah, that's perfect. For this, the French 1020, I've created a podcast called Un Voyage Inoubliable. And that is narrating, it's an intermediate French class where they're practicing the tenses of passé, composé, and imparfait in the French, narrating an unforgettable trip. And again, this is scaffolded over 5 weeks, and I have very specific prompts that they have to study because I want them to incorporate that grammar, but nonetheless, I really do want them to work on these tenses. So number one is brainstorming. I have them record 5 to 8 minute conversation. Recount one trip that you remember in your life. If I had to ask you to do that now, is there something that comes to mind? One trip for 5 minutes that you could describe. Do you have anything that comes to mind? It's hard. My students, they really thought about it. I'm like, really make it unforgettable. Then we have to distinguish what are the actions versus the descriptive elements, right? The passé composé would be the action, the imparfait would be the description. Develop a story, build on it, right? 4th week, they're recording. And then the 5th week is the reflection and we listen to it. But again, it's scaffolded. And again, the reflection at the end. What did you think? Wow, comments, growth, creativity, and confidence, right? Recording made me feel like I was really speaking in French. Like somehow the act of it being recorded makes it real. Just when they're speaking in class, it's not real. So again, that digital aspect, having it recorded really resonates with students, okay? So it really meant a lot to them. So the pedagogical implications, number one, it integrates multiple literacies, right? I'm using Brightspace, the online platform for Vista Higher Learning as well. We have a recording studio. So the fact that we're using multiple nodes to teach is very important. Having, playing back a video recording or an audio recording of themselves speaking in French is new for a lot of the students, right? Maybe they've repeated, but to hear themselves, that's very powerful. It really encourages collaboration. After all, what is language? A tool to communicate, right? So we want our students to collaborate. I have 28 students in a class. I need them to collaborate with their peers in a meaningful way. Above all, please be creative with the language, right? Please create. To create really just means to bring into existence. So I really want them to create. But above all, it is based upon their imagination. They are in control of the narrative and the storyline. Wow, do they take risks? They'll play soundtracks in the back of their final recording. They innovate in ways that I don't see in the classroom, right? In the classroom, our students are stoic, reserved, but in this way, when the recordings are wonderful. Playful learning spaces, we need to incorporate play in a meaningful way, right? In a meaningful way. The storytelling, it anchors grammar in meaning and context, which improves retention and comprehension. For teaching a language, we challenge our students to really explore the boundaries of their self-identity, right? To express themselves in a new language it's existential in a way. It's a profound risk they take with their sense of identity. Speaking through characters allows them to be more comfortable and take more risks, I find. It lowers anxiety because they're home. I see the videos, they're meeting up, they're both meeting on the online platform at their home, drinking tea, listening to music, having a good time, which builds confidence because they're going to take risks. They're not afraid of conjugating the verb wrong. Who cares? They're in this story world, this fictitious world, which is wonderful. So I use this in all my classes. It's creative student-centered learning, which is what we're here for. It merges technology, imagination, and storytelling in a meaningful way. I do it in a class I teach on French culture as well. So in the end, I have had wonderful results. My students have given positive result, and it's, I think, a wonderful addition to any language course. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Any question? Yes.
It's very interesting.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Ask your
Yeah.
question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I feel like that's also an important topic that also is connected to my own research, which is on video blogging, creating videos. And I want to ask you, what kind of challenges did you encounter when you were implementing this in your classroom?
Well, the first challenge is rather mundane. My students are very busy. I teach in Brooklyn, and it's a lot of my students